Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be exploring one of Canada's most iconic and breathtaking destinations. We're going to be going over Lake Louise, and it's right in the heart of Banff National Park in Alberta. And Lake Louise sits at about 5,740 feet above sea level. That's about 1,750 meters. And it's surrounded by towering peaks and the Victoria Glacier. It's basically nature's version of a postcard. And when you first look at the lake, one of the first things you're going to notice is going to be the color. That actually comes from something called rock flour, which are tiny particles from glacier erosion that reflect sunlight to give the lake its kind of surreal milky blue glow. And words can't really describe it. Even the video can't really describe and get all the colors that it looks like, but it is really an incredible color for the lake itself. Now, Lake Louise was originally named Lake of the Little Fishes by Stoney Nakoda First Nations people. It was later named after Princess Louise Caroline Alberta, the fourth daughter of Queen Victoria. Um, One of the nice things about this lake is there's also a beautiful hotel that sits right on there, and it's the Fairmont Chateau, Lake Louise. And it's a luxury hotel that actually dates back to the late 1800s when the Canadian Pacific Railway was trying to attract wealthy European travelers. Today, it's one of the most scenic places you can stay in North America. In the summer, you can even rent a canoe and glide across the lake, or even hit the trails like the famous Lake Agnes Tea House hike. In the winter, the place transforms into a snowy wonderland. It's got skating and ice castles, and even an ice bar in there. Now, another interesting fact about Lake Louise is the temperature of the water. And I actually did get down into the water up to my knees, and I can tell you that the water is very cold. And that's year round that it stays cold. So even in the dead heat of summer, it's going to be cold. Typically, the temperature ranges from about 39 degrees Fahrenheit to about 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's even in the summer. That's 4 degrees Celsius to 7 degrees Celsius. And I believe that when we went that day, and this was in kind of mid-August, the tour guide we went with actually stuck a thermometer in the water. I think it came out to be about 48 or 49 degrees, and so it was very cold. The reason it's so cold is because it's fed directly by glacial meltwater from the Victoria Glacier that I had mentioned earlier. Keeps it icy cold. So it looks like it could be a tropical lake and somewhere beautiful to swim, but just know that it's going to be very, very cold if you get into the water. The cold temperature also means that there's very little aquatic life that lives in the lake, so it's too cold for most species of fish, though there are some lake trout that can survive the waters, the cool temperatures of the waters. Here's some other fun facts about Lake Louise is that it does freeze solid in the winter. So from November to June, Lake Louise is completely frozen. There's a thick enough layer of ice for ice skating, ice hockey, even horse-drawn sleigh rides go across the lake. And there's a massive ice sculpture festival every January there. It's also surrounded by a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And so Lake Louise is part of the Canadian Rocky Mountain Parks. UNESCO World Heritage Site is known for its outstanding beauty, glaciers, and biodiversity. You can rent canoes out here, but they're pretty pricey. They can be up to $100 an hour to do so. One last set of facts around Lake Louise. Some that I found interesting were that Lake Louise, just as I mentioned before, is named after Princess Louise Caroline Alberta, Queen Victoria's daughter. That happens to be, if you notice the name Alberta on the end there, the province of Alberta is also named after her. I mentioned a little bit earlier about a hike that you can go to Lake Agnes Tea House. It's about 3.5 kilometer hike from the lake, and it's a remote little cabin that's been serving hikers tea and snacks since 1905. And supplies are actually flown in or hiked up by the staff themselves. Lake Louise is also in bear country, so it's prime grizzly and black bear habitat. So if you hit the trails, especially in the summer, please carry bear spray and make noise. Parks Canada even sometimes restricts access to groups of four plus for safety reasons. And Lake Louise is one of the most photographed spots in all of Canada. It consistently ranks as one of the top 10 places in Canada, especially during sunrise and when the aspen glow hits the peaks. So if you do go there, definitely bring your camera. And the lake was formed about 10,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. Glaciers carved out the valley, the meltwater filled in, and created what we now call Lake Louise. I really hope you've enjoyed viewing a little bit of Lake Louise. I strongly recommend you go there if you ever have the opportunity. Take some hikes around there. It's one of the most beautiful places you'll ever see in your life. So please go and visit.